Hello there, my name's Julian Clary, and I've been asked by these young people behind me here to come and apologise for the next hour of so-called entertainment. So sit back, rest your eyes, have a little doze perhaps, and I'll see you later on.
Thank you to the Ted Hamilton Experience for your rendition of our theme, and welcome to episode 15 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast, where we talk about the best Australian comedy show from the 90s ever made, The Late Show, and other D-Generation comedy tidbits. I'm running out of breath every time I say that sentence. My name is Matt, and joining this podcast today is Alison, Daniel and Kim.
Hello!
Hey! And we'll cut straight to the chase. We have a very special guest who is a host of a Rational Fear podcast, gold medal award-plated, I should say, and also the star of, I don't know if he still wants to be associated with it, the Ronnie Johns Half Hour, Hungry Beast, an extra for Looking for Alibrandi, and most importantly, a kid on Romper Room, and also known for asking the tough questions.
Sir, what do you think? Is gnocchi pasta or potato?
It's Daniel Lynch.
Thank you very much. It's such a great privilege and an honour to be on this show. I've loved The Late Show ever since I was a 10-year-old boy in primary school trying to look at things very late at TV, late at night on TV. And I loved it so much that I thought I'd share something with you. When I was about year 5 or year 6, my parents got me this for Christmas.
The Late Show cap.
It's a Late Show cap, a genuine bona fide. You've got one too, Alison. Oh, fantastic.
Alison's holding up hers.
Oh, yeah, this is great. Yeah, it's complete with like quite a bit of roughage around the corners because I've had it. I've had it for over 20 years and it's been in my parents' house for that long, and I've dug it up especially for this podcast. So it's great. It's great to have it. It's great to wear it, an occasion to wear it. I actually wore this. I was the showrunner of a TV show last year called At Home Alone Together, which was hosted by Ray Martin. And as I was running around, running people on that show, I wore this hat. So it gives you a sense of authority when you're on set. It's, people trust you because you're wearing the Late Show hat. So it's an absolute privilege to join your podcast. And it's the show that got me into television. Like I wanted to be one of these people who was on this show called The Late Show doing this stuff. It's kind of one of the shows that I was just completely enamored with as a kid, and it was the show that made me go, fuck, if there's any way I could be a comedian on that show or doing a show like that show, then that's what I want to do. So, and I've been very fortunate in my career to have built shows similar to it, not quite like it, but similar at least. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, what are we doing hosting this when you should be doing it? You sound like you're a bit more of a dedicated fan than we are.
I don't have the time to watch every single episode like you people do. And I'm very happy that you do. At least somebody is watching it. And that is great. I mean, it's like, Hey Hey It's Saturday has their own over-the-top platform where you can pay $12 a month to watch Hey Hey It's Saturday. Michael Hirsch should really take these Late Show tapes and turn it into a over-the-top service where you could pay $12 a month to watch The Late Show. I'm sure people would do that.
As you said on Twitter, I think maybe about a month ago, put it on iView.
Put it on fucking iView. We all know it.
Before we actually start dissecting season 1, episode 15 of The Late Show, we actually have a bit of we have a tiny little bit of feedback which was not prompted by us, and this was on the Late Show Champagne Comedy Facebook page. This is from Joshua Smith, and he says, yes, thank you, Daniel, for getting out your typewriter again. Get on the Champagne Comedy Podcast that they are reviewing every episode of the show. So good. So thank you, Joshua Smith.
Was that on Twitter or was that on iTunes?
No, that was on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all I have to do to get featured on this podcast again is say something nice about this podcast?
Yeah, and by all means, please, iTunes as well, if anyone could. The amount of times I'd check it and I've gone, we can't get past a 24-star rating. And now, Alison, you actually found something during the week.
I was listening to the Malloy podcast about a week or so ago, and they had a segment on there. This was a phone-in segment, and you had to ring in and say what you would be wearing if you were in an open casket coffin, okay? What your sort of, final resting outfit would be. Typical kind of, Austereo callback topic. And anyway, this wanted Mick to remember something from the Late Show.
Jason's on the line. Jason, what are you wearing? Do you open casket?
I'd be able to go as Ronald McDonald, and then I would like you guys to bust in through the door that's a hamburger.
I bust in the door as a hamburger. All right. Well, maybe we could be a pallbearer.
Yeah, Mick could be Grimace.
It could be six hamburgers carrying the coffin. Here's one for you. What about B1 or B2?
Oh, yeah.
And you can be like you're in the banana suit,
Yeah,
but you're slightly bruised.
Mum and Dad to go with that.
There you go.
Can I just say, thanks, Jason. I said this is a sketch when we were doing the Late Show.
Yeah.
We had a scene set in a morgue, and I rang up the ABC Children's Department and asked if I could use the B1 and B2 in a sketch. And they said, what do you want? And I said, well, we're shooting a morgue, and in the background, I want a drawer coming out with B1 on it and B2 identifying him. The phone just went click.
They weren't impressed.
I wouldn't have thought so.
So that's from the Malloy podcast. And now here's the clip that they're referring to, and it's very visual.
Let me show you why we've got a problem with this. These lacerations here. Yeah, well, we have to keep him down, like hold him, using extreme force. 26 stab wounds to the abdominal region. Now, I mentioned extreme force, didn't I? 5.33 caliber bullets lodged in the chest area. Can't be too careful. And what about this here? Where? You've nuggeted him, haven't you, Frank? You'll have that fun, aren't you? I'm afraid we're going to keep him for questioning. That's it. Come on.
Right there.
We used the coroner's report to compile this dramatic recreation of how the exorcism may have taken place.
Now, that sketch was from Season 2, Episode 15, where it was all about exorcism. And as Mick and Tony left the morgue, Jason opens up the drawer, and out comes one body of a Mickey Mouse face out of all things, and Minnie Mouse identifying Mickey. And yet they used that instead of B1 and B2.
It's because they could hire that. They could hire that. As someone who works at the ABC, let me tell you how difficult it is to play with those children properties, those children's TV properties. When we were on Tonightly, the TV show, which is Tonightly with Tom Ballard, I was the executive producer of that show. During rehearsal, we went through, we made a joke about political correctness. We're doing this kind of whole extended piece about freedom of speech, and anyway, we used one of the windows from Play School as a joke in the corner of the screen, and it was like, oh, and what can we see through the round window? And it had a shot of Tom Ballard with his finger up, like middle finger up to the round window, and then I got an email, like as we were recording the show, saying, Dan, this is the head of children's television at ABC. How dare you disparage? I've disparaged the children's icon Play School. Like, what are you fucking talking about? We haven't done anything. And it's like, and so as the show was recording, I was trying to deal with this problem with all the super high-end executives of the ABC. The ABC TV's head of television, head of children's TV. And in the end, I just said, don't worry, we'll kill the joke just so you can relax. Wow. But they are like so intense about protecting their intellectual property for children's TV that you can't even attempt to make a joke about them even when you've got a job at the ABC. It's no wonder they went for Minnie Mouse, which you could hire at every single costume shop in Melbourne, no doubt.
Disney are not litigious at all.
Yeah.
We've got one more little bit of news, and I believe in regards to episode 14, someone visited Glenn Rowan, didn't they?
That's correct. Long-time Late Show fan, Tina Moreno, who, little bit of a segue here, he was my on-screen husband on the Joy of Sets Warwick Kappa home renovation sketch in 2011. That was Tony Martin's show. So that's where I met Tino, and now I'm Facebook friends with him. So he posted a photo today of himself and his wife at Glen Rowan, and I was like, "Wait, yeah, tell me about this trip." So he basically sent a little bit of a video clip.
That's the laser and light display, or sound and light display, yeah. The $2 million or over-exaggerated $2 million display.
It sounds like a TV that's breaking. It sounds like a TV that's not quite working and might be an electrical hazard.
And I asked him about his verdict, and he basically said it wasn't terrible. He said the weird thing was that when it was over, you walk out and there was a room with a ton of Disney stuff, like mountains of it, no idea why. The owner chatted to us and said his son is running things these days, and he couldn't find the wishing well. He was hoping to wish himself out of the place. It wasn't all that bad. He said basically that I asked if there were quite a few visitors, and he said there are about 8 people waiting for the next show after he encountered that animatronic show. And they have updated the show because there's a bit of a countdown, a PowerPoint countdown from 2021 to 1880. So it means that someone cares enough to actually update the year each time it plays. Apparently there is an animatronic of a guy pissing into a bucket.
Oh, that's new.
That's worth the price of admission alone, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely the highlight. At the end, the decapitated head of Ned Kelly. At the end, he wasn't sure if it was disturbing or hilarious. But either way, $30 gets you in these days. Is it worth it?
Wow, that is steep.
Got some quick news as well from the Tony Martin front. He's got a new book out, or an audio book, which was actually selected articles from his now defunct Scrivener's Fancy website. He's now got in spoken form, and that's called That Said.
In all my years, I've never once seen anyone wearing a toothbrush, or to use its more common title, Hitler moustache, in any context outside of a comedy sketch or ill-advised office Christmas party shenanigan. In fact, as far as I know, there have only been 5 Hitler moustache wearers ever. Hitler himself, Charlie Chaplin, Oliver Hardy, Blakey from On the Buses, and Peter Sellers as Fred Kite in I'm All Right, Jack. No doubt there was some obscure South American tyrant or eccentric Norwegian balloonist who gave it a crack, but once Hitler made the toothbrush his own, it soon fell from favour. Just like colourful jumpers post Daryl Summers, to cite another 20th century dictator.
That was from the sample from his website, mrtonymartin.bandcamp.com. So pay $10, get a whole bunch of stuff from him. He needs the coin to keep his podcasts alive, really.
He'll do anything for money. He came to Sydney last year, 2 years ago. We made a sitcom for Audible called Riot Act, and it had it was Mark Humphreys, Evan Williams, and I wrote it. It basically around the premise of what if a right-wing shock jock did a memorial to a Cronulla riot, but it got out of hand and became an actual riot. And so we we did this. It's basically the Breaking Bad of a right-wing shock jock, and we got Tony. We flew Tony Martin up to be like the Neil Mitchell of our world, and he was fantastic as a radio shock jock, if you could believe that. So it was. And we didn't pay him much. We paid him in flights and taxi fare, and I think a couple $100 that got him over the line.
And you can still get that at on Audible.
Yeah, if you go to audible.com.au/riot, you can hear Riot Act, and it's a sitcom. It's a feast for your ears. It's really good.
And also one more thing, which is Judith Lucy's got a new book out coming out called Turns Out I'm Fine, and that is due out next month in April 2021. And she's got a comedy show on at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival on April 17 and 18. So visit her official Facebook page for more. Other than that, let's get into the program guide. And where we have Daniel, can you please recite what you have listed?
Okay, so all of this comes from the Melbourne Age. On Saturdays, they publish the Critics Guide to the Weekend's TV, which is just like a regular program guide, except that Ross Warneke scribbles in the margins. So on Channel 7, we've got a 1988 whodunit, Perry Mason and the Case of the Lady in the Lake. Says Warneke, a young heiress is murdered and her husband is arrested, but Mason, played by Raymond Burr, finds a web of intrigue behind the whole affair. With David Hasselhoff. On Channel 9, on Hey Hey, the guests scheduled to appear are Julian Clary, Jenny Morris, and the Black Sorrows. Also, considering that the night this is airing is October the 31st, 1992, there's not a mention whatsoever in this episode of The Late Show about Halloween, which is kind of amazing, especially these days when there's more made out of Halloween these days than there was back in the 90s. I assume that Hey Hey would have done at least some sort of dress up. So after Hey Hey is the 1979 adventure film Ashanti, the first of a Michael Caine double bill on Channel 9. The other is the 1966 drama Alfie. Says Warneke, Caine and Beverly Johnson, they play husband and wife doctors working for the World Health Organization in Africa. But Johnson is abducted by a slave trader played by Peter Ustinov, and Caine, with the help of William Holden and Rex Harrison, tries to get her back. An unlikely cast in a slow and unconvincing yarn. Then on Channel 10, we've got Sean Connery's sixth Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever, from 1971. And according to Warneke, one of the least appealing and most confused. Bond tracks a diamond smuggling operation to Las Vegas, but comes across a suspicious nuclear facility in the Nevada desert. Also starring Jill St. John and Lana Wood. And over on SBS, we've got a 1935 black and white French drama called La Bandera. A criminal joins the Spanish Foreign Legion. How was it fun, that one? And finally, on Channel 2, the lead into the show is the second episode in the current season of Bread. Then at 10 o'clock, The Late Show, Warneke puts his critique in next to the listing. He says, 2 weeks ago, this live comedy show was hilarious. Last week, it struggled, unquote. Which I think that's a bit of a cop-out. I think last episode was an absolute cracker.
It's comedy, man. It's comedy, you know. Hits and misses. Hits and misses. Not everyone's cup of tea.
Hang on, is this the first time he's actually said anything positive, albeit about an episode 2 weeks ago? And also, I think last week's episode, well, the last episode, he said something negative about it in the critique. So unless these critiques are written 3 weeks in advance or something, which they often are.
From memory, 2 episodes ago was when it opened with the presidential debate sketch, which he really loved.
Oh, yeah. He did like that one.
After The Late Show, at 11 o'clock, the season final of Sticky Moments on Tour, coming from Scotland. Then at 11:40, a 1980 prison drama called Brubaker. Says Warneke, tough but in the end rather shallow story of newcomer Robert Redford's discovery of corruption and brutality inside a remote prison. Then at the very late time of 1:45 a.m., we've got Rage featuring R.E.M. Yeah, it's very weird sort of having a movie on after The Late Show. All right, so that's it.
Cool. All right, well, thank you very much, Daniel. And now we will get into Season 1, Episode 15 of The Late Show, broadcast Saturday, October 31st, 1992. And we have a cold opening with Julian Clary, who's jumped over from the Hey It's Saturday studios to say, make sure you don't listen or don't watch the show. But he's there to promote his Sticky Moments show.
Julian gets to stick the boot in saying that the D&D generation stands for dull, dreary and depressing. Yeah, he gets a fair boot in. Most of the crew is standing there behind him and just sort of going, thanks for that plug, didn't appreciate that.
They probably wrote it for him, though. They're probably like, what's a self-deprecating thing we can say here?
They also appear to be on the Play School set, which is a bit weird. It looks a bit like a Play School set. What is that set?
It might have been Shirty, the Slightly Aggressive Bear set as well.
It looks like the set that down the track that Tom does, if his life was a musical, which is in a future episode, yeah.
Sometimes at the ABC, the Play School set is often set up, or there are sets in studios that are available. So if Julian Clary is like walking through the building and a publicist says, you've got like 30, you can have 30 or 15 minutes with Julian Clary, maybe the simplest thing to do is to drag him down to wherever the set is and you can turn on the lights and just do something in front of a set. And that's kind of that's something that's kind of how television works in that regard, where you don't have a talent for like hours and you've just got them for such a small bit of time.
I'm glad I got you on this episode because you can give us the in-depth detailing behind what goes on just filming a show.
Hey, no worries. I'm also looking for a job, so if anyone's out there needs an executive producer, let me know.
Now we have Mick and Tony sing really at the beginning, sing la 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 la, and they have that. They claim the loudest opening yet. which they didn't expect to do the show as the end of the world was meant to happen. While they cut to Tommy G prepping the news desk and they insert a Sylvania Waters fat joke.
Yeah, one of many fat jokes in this episode.
Yeah, there's too many in this episode, that's for sure. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I do like that line from Tony saying, "The Lord spaketh, saying, sucked in badly."
And they also will go underneath the bonnet of what's life like underneath the Liberal government in Victoria.
Jeff Kennett's gone mad. Jeff Kennett's gone mad. Jeff Kennett's gone mad.
They talk about the blockbuster movie 1492 coming out, and it's all about Columbus circumnavigating Gerard Depardieu, which is one of the most favourite name pronunciations that Tony has.
And I can only assume that Gerard Depardieu was in 1492 and that at the time he was very fat, because another fat joke right there.
Yeah. Then there's a reference to Cherie Paul School of Grooming. So there's your little different hairstyle and different concepts, Daniel.
They said it was that she'd had 100 different aliases and from the look of them played all the roles in Prisoner.
Yeah.
She does actually look like one of those women who appeared in the opening sequence of Prisoner. You know, in fact, she looks like one of the characters in Prisoner. There was a character, I think her name was Nola, and she was a very, very nasty woman who'd actually been sentenced to death or something in Western Australia, which was still the law. They still had the death penalty in Western Australia back in the early 80s. Anyway, this woman got killed by B. Smith, I think, in the end. Spoilers.
So this is just plenty of court cases going on, such as Daryl Braithwaite threatening to reform Sherbet, and Warwick Capper, who got off a court case in regards to, and it's mentioned later on, a bit of an assault charge type thing going on, allegedly. So even though it's from 1992. Yeah, other than that, Tony and Mick tear up photos of Bert Newton. Now, this one is reminiscent of Sinead O'Connor from SNL, from Saturday Night Live.
Yes, right.
So, yeah, because this is the Sinead little bit.
We know we will win. We have confidence in the victory of good over evil. Fight the real enemy.
And there's your mystified silence.
Yeah. How anarchic is that?
Yeah, that's when she ripped up the photo of the Pope live on TV.
That would have only been maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago from memory.
It was October 3, 1992.
Wow. There we go.
What they're saying is that Bert Newton is the Australian equivalent of the Pope.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, how old were all of you when this episode went to air?
It was just after my birthday, so I was about 12.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Yeah, I might have been one of the oldest. I was 15.
Me, I was 9 years of age. I came into it a bit later, yeah.
Wow. And can you remember many of these public or many of these current affair events as you go through the weeks?
Yeah, I definitely remember the Sinead O'Connor Pope thing. That was huge at the time, and the end of the world as well. I specifically remember being in my science class thinking, "Oh, we're all still here," and people genuinely were afraid at the time that the world was going to end. And I had friends that were attending the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert as well, so which we'll talk about a bit later on. So it's just a difference of just a few years. Means that you just remember just that little bit more, I guess.
Yeah. I remember the names, but I can't remember the events.
A bit like Cherie Paul, like they conflated Cherie Paul's court case with Daryl Braithwaite's, and let's say that he went nuts and threatened to take all his clothes off and feigned unconsciousness and said he was 4 months pregnant, and obviously that's all reference to Cherie Paul. But yeah, I don't remember any of that.
No, it's not until you watch these episodes and then when you do your research on it, you're going, holy crap, that did happen, but I was so young, didn't understand it, and you realise how bloody adult or how serious these things were.
Yeah, I mean, the Korean sect thing, I ended up looking this up, and the sect was called the Dami Mission, so that's spelled exactly like Dami Im, except, so D-A-M-I. Don't confuse the two. They're very, very different. Because the members of this sect actually believed in the end of the world was coming, there was a woman who was 7 months pregnant and she aborted her child. There were 3 people who committed suicide. So consequences of this were extremely serious. But also because all of these things are always financial, the sex leader, he actually defrauded his followers of $4.4 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I think he went to jail after the world didn't end and it was discovered that he'd taken all this money from his followers. He went to jail in the end.
I mean, that should have been a red flag straight up. Like, what do you need $4 million? The world's going to end next week. Why have you got $4 million for, buddy? What's going on there?
Yeah.
It's like you got some insurance policy for some reason. It's like you almost don't need that $4 million, buddy.
So now we have the news desk with Tommy G, and a lot of this stuff is quite visual, so I'll just chime right through it, and I apologise if it doesn't really make sense, like this podcast in general. So you have ACTU Chief Bill Kelty agreeing to a haircut, and they have footage of a sheep shearing. Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett takes holiday with all his mates, and they show footage of Kennett on an empty plane. Russian soldiers warned leaders not to dry clean their hats, and they have footage of soldiers wearing very, very fluffy hats. So now serious stories now with problems plaguing Boris Yeltsin. Colleagues are angry after he limits vodka at meetings to two bottles per person. And he also attacks former President Mikhail Gorbachev for spending too much money on microphones, where they show footage of him surrounded by all these mics.
You can see the genesis of have you been paying attention in this segment, can't you? You're like, right, I see. Like, Tommy's fed up with writing jokes. He'll just let other comedians to write jokes for him.
Other news, South Africa security forces took time out to practice for the West Side Story, and it's just got them doing a gun routine. And in Israel, soldiers are geared up for the opening of Lebanese duck shooting season.
Yeah. And it's Israeli soldiers shooting into the air. Yeah, that's
right. As I said, a lot of footage once here, so a lot of this I'm just trying to stream through as much as possible. But it still needs a... And Bosnia, Muslim forces running short of equipment, and they show footage of platoon marching with plastic drink bottles. So that was...
I don't even think it was platoons. I think it was just people in Bosnia with plastic drink bottles wanting water, and you could hear the audience go, "Oh."
Yeah, you got a lot of cringeworthy moments.
And Tommy G noticing, going, "Yeah, no, you're right. That was terrible. What are we doing?"
So the federal government are under attack for changes to the endangered species legislation. They have fallen short for protecting animals, marine bird life, and Western Australian premiers.
Which I assume is funny.
Yes.
For the context.
There was quite a quick turnover of Western Australian premiers, I think, in the early 90s. There were one or two corruption scandals over there, but I'm too young to remember them all.
In Canberra, the National Gallery unveils its $3 million Picasso to the crowd, and then it falls off the wall. So...
Yeah, and did we notice the cameo from Annie Marver, of course, and I think possibly two other women who were on the crew of The Late Show, but definitely Annie Marver was amongst them.
Oh, right. I love you guys because you guys know everybody who's on the crew, and you get to see in quick succession the regular appearances of the cameos of the crew. That is brilliant observation from you, Alison. Well done.
Industrial relations and the Federated Union of Magicians Assistants are threatening a walkout, and they cue the spokesperson, which is the beautiful Wendy, that's Jane, in a very piss weak assistant style, very stilted, and I'll let you guys talk about this one.
Yeah, she really puts on a great bit of acting there, I think.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great little sketch, and it's a very simple kind of news correspondency kind of piece. And I don't know where the knife came from. This knife gets thrown in. Yes. I don't know whether it comes in front of her face or comes from behind her. Did you guys notice that? Whether it was actually thrown in or whether it
looked very real.
Oh God,
it looked really real. Yeah, and she didn't flinch. So if it was genuinely thrown at her, well done, Jane.
Looked like an Aaron Beaucaire specialty.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not definitively sure, but yeah, I reckon it probably came in from behind.
This is my favourite bit. It's mainly the attempts of her trying to sign off on the story.
We'll be disappearing.
Oh, really?
Hey, presto.
No.
Simsalabim!
Wendy, I'd leave it to professionals.
Shit!
No,
one of the lines that the beautiful Wendy says is very pertinent for today. Talking about, whether the magicians treat the assistants well, and that, at first they give you canes what has flowers coming out of it and white doves and stuff, but underneath that it's all hands and rope tricks.
Nothing has changed in all that time.
So, yeah, a bit of hey presto, me too there.
In America, a few days left to the election, and President Bush increases popularity with karaoke night, and they show footage of Bush and with Rob singing as Bush. Clinton also agreed to sing, and this is footage of Clinton with an African-American dubbed Ebony and Ivory. Now, I don't know who was the actual person, so I do apologise.
Yeah, I think if they had that time again, they probably wouldn't do that joke.
No.
I think it'd be pretty apt that, Bush would probably sing like a rhinestone cowboy.
I'm dusting off this sound effect, but do you think it's a
product of its time?
What an incredible sound effect that you actually have on hand whilst discussing this program. That is a genius idea.
There's an entire song as well. Have you heard?
You don't want to hear the 3-minute version,
No,
mate.
it's brilliant.
No, email it to me so I can ignore it later on.
Royal news, the Queen has arrived in Ireland for a goodwill tour, and she's greeted by an Irish admirer. And this is a classic cutaway footage of, a visual joke, really, of flowers with a bomb attached. So that's...
It's a slight retread of the die you old bag Queen Mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was Alison, that was exactly what my notes say. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this joke before in the best ofs, and it's great that it's coming back. Like, it took me a while to go, Ireland, why would Ireland want to blow them? And the IRA. Like, it's been so long. I actually had to think really hard about why that joke was funny.
There's a fat joke there too coming up, which in England, Charles and Di sat 7 seats apart at the Royal Gala concert, and the space was there because the Duchess of York was going to show up. So,
oh God,
put your badum-tish in there.
Yeah, if Tom has to explain the joke, because he does this sort of widening gesture with his hands.
Yeah.
Customs are testing beagles as sniffer dogs for airports, and they have Santo as the security officer who's tried golden retrievers. Didn't work because, but if you do try to bring in socks, you're done. German Shepherds were tested too, but they're a bit overzealous and cured dog with a severed hand.
Yeah, there we go. The cast members' dogs also cameoing again.
Music news. INXS music clip banned because it's too raunchy. The music clip Taste It will be edited down and turned into a special hosted by Doug Mulray.
And you know what's funny about Australian media is that people are still making Doug Mulray cancelled jokes in 2021. Like, people are still doing that. Like, as if people remember Australia's Naughtiest Home Videos exist still in 2021.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
But we all remember it.
Yeah.
It made such a lasting impact just for being so infamous.
Well, it's every time that those news sites do an article, say, on a show that's just been axed. So, if they decide to end up axing Holy Moly and Ultimate Tag, then they'll do those shows that only lasted one season, and then bam, Doug Mulray will be on there.
Got pulled halfway through the episode when Carrie Packer called up and said, "Pull this shit." I asked Andrew Denton if Doug would come on Irrational Fear or do anything, and he's like, no, he's hermetically sealed. He doesn't do anything anymore for anyone. I think that might have been one of the things that ticked him off and was like, I'm never going to do anything publicly ever again.
Good news is that even though Channel 7 and 10 wouldn't show it, it does look like it's available on YouTube.
Doomsday News, and according to a Korean sect, the world was meant to end on 2 a.m. Thursday. And the Late Show cast gathered at the time to see if it ends. So the rapture happened in the form of Dennis Walter.
And they couldn't get out of their seats.
Yeah, exactly.
I assume that's someone famous. I guess that's someone famous. I guess that's the joke, that somebody famous is coming in to sing to them.
You don't watch the carols in Candlelight every year. He's usually there.
Is he like a Melbourne identity? Is he like a Melbourne celebrity?
Yeah. He is as well. In fact, at the right now, well, not right now, but he does the night show on 3AW.
In the early 90s, he hosted Keno, and they used to take the piss on Fast Forward, didn't they? They had Jeff Brooks in the kind of the blonde kind of wig, the sort of Ray Martin sort of hair, the helmet hair, which is what Dennis Walter had.
And yeah, I'm kind of amazed that Dennis Walter agreed to have the piss taken out of him in this way, and basically say that we reckon listening to you is like going through hell.
I'm sure he enjoys the publicity for that. And
I suppose if you pay someone enough money, they'll turn up, won't they?
Yeah,
exactly. Or not. People just will do anything to remain relevant, even come on your podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Now to the lounge, and Mick and Santo are on stage talking about how they went to the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert, and Mick got a stamp tattoo.
Ow! You know what? Ow! You know what really disappoints me, apart from the way that went down? You know what really disappoints me?
Back in 1992, Red Hot Chili Peppers, they were pretty mainstream. Previously I remember watching them at 4 a.m. on Rage, and then Under the Bridge came out and it was all over the commercial radio stations, etc. They actually played in all around Australia, but this show was actually a postponed show. It was originally way back in May that they were supposed to be playing, and then one of their guitarist unexpectedly quit the band and they had to postpone the show. So I actually had a video clip of my 1992 Year 10 walkathon where some of my friends had actually were meant to see Red Hot Chili Peppers that day.
Did you know we were supposed to go to Red Hot Chili Peppers concert tonight, but we missed out, and now we're going on the 9th of October, which is 147 days away. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they were some of my Year 10 classmates who were highly disappointed at not being able to go to the show. But they did actually end up going to the show, 9th of October, which was a couple of weeks before this episode aired. I guess they were just making their way around the country. Their memories were basically nearly getting crushed in the front row during the support act. They were, mind you, these are 15-year-old girls, so they had to be dragged out by security, and then they were enjoying the gig just from the sidelines at the Hordern. Which they enjoyed. There was also this other incident, which I don't really remember, but they did actually meet up with Anthony Kiedis, and they took some photos with obviously a film camera, and the camera malfunctioned. So I don't know if they actually ever did get to meet them. I like to think that it was true, and the camera just didn't work. But yes, that was slightly older than you guys when the episode aired.
Kim, what a privilege to have these awesome memories. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, the fact that I had a video camera, and not many people had this type of stuff, to bring to school, to actually have some of those memories is really good, because it was prior to social media, of course. Now everyone can record everything. So yeah, I'm really happy that I actually have some of that footage.
That's great.
So yeah, and then they played the clip of Jace being Anthony, and pretty much Santo playing all other members of Red Hot Chili Peppers doing Under the Bridge, which we won't play because of copyright issues. Have you all been to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert?
I saw them at a Big Day Out in the late 90s.
There you go. You're the only one then. None of us have.
Yeah, never seen them.
And we're back on the lounge again, and Jason and Rob are on the lounge, and Rob is ribbing Jason's painted-on muscles from the music clip.
Well, it's just funny. I was just looking at the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I thought that the lead singer had a few more muscles than...
Funny bugger.
Much scrawnier than
Funny bugger. Let's talk horses, Robbie, shall we?
He was a lot thinner.
Yeah, Robbie, I think we'll talk horses.
Very scrawny on
Rob,
the...
Behave yourself.
Shorter in the leg.
Rob! You going to support me on this? Okay, mate.
Behave yourself.
Yeah, Rob being complete arsehole to Jace.
That's more. I think Tony Martin calls it lingering at the scene of the crime.
What's that?
That ribbing about the previous sketches and sort of like pointing out where things might have gone wrong or where things might have looked a bit weird. And Rob couldn't stop thinking about how scrawny Jason looked.
But yeah, this whole routine is basically Jace giving Melbourne Cup tips, which a lot of it went over my head because I've got zero interest in the Melbourne Cup.
I think the joke there was just that Jason was throwing up everywhere, wasn't it? Wasn't that the simple? That's
pretty much it.
I do remember the horse Let's Elope though, so that was a nice reference from back in primary school. Let's Elope, yeah, that was a famous horse. Yeah, I remember I used Let's Elope as a joke horse name for many years after that moment.
You were asking before what were some of the topical references we remembered from rewatching this program, and that for me also Let's Elope and some of the other real racehorse names were things that I suddenly went, oh yeah, I remember that horse.
Isn't it funny how like Let's Elope is really sticky? It sticks in your head, and like if you're 12 years old, you have no idea what it means, but you just remember Let's Elope.
Let's Elope did definitely stick out, and also there was one called What a Nuisance, because my dad put some money on that because it reminded him of our cat, and he actually won from that. So that's probably the only times I've ever put money down.
I think it's extraordinary now, like, to think about a show like this exists, and us as young people who were like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 were glued to it at 10:30 at night watching these jokes, and now kids today don't even bother to watch TV, and it's like it feels like that's never going to happen again. It was such a precious moment in Australian media history that, like, young kids today would never even watch a show at 10:30 at night. There's no, like, they just don't care because they're doing other things. Like, it's just like
they would wait until it was all in bits on YouTube the next day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there's no show like it for them that exists like it. I doubt that when they were making The Late Show, they were making The Late Show for people who were 9, 10, and 11 and 12. But it's strange that show has had such an effect on people of our generation who really want to watch it, engage with it in a way.
Yeah,
I guess it made us feel like naughty, and maybe made us feel like adults, like we were trying to be older than we were, and we were engaging in the world in a way that as kids we can't engage with the world, and maybe that was something to do with it. Maybe
my daughter's actually the same age as what a lot of you guys were when you were watching The Late Show, but she's now kind of watching old comedy companies, so that's I'm trying to get her to The Late Show. I'm trying to get her to watch a bit of The Late Show, but I mean, some of the references are pretty obscure. I don't think you would understand a lot of these very timely kind of references at the time.
Kim, how long has she been watching Old Comedy Company? Like a couple of days or
a couple of weeks? Couple of days. Oh my God,
couple of days. Beautiful.
We'll move on to the next segment, and it is the olden days and episode 15, Front Bottom Without a Cause. And so Front Bottom runs through the mud fields, basically being a rebel to the theme of Born to be Wild. Sergeant Alden gets jealous that Front Bottom's wild man image is going way too far, and Front Bottom's mother from episode 14 turns up.
Marmaduke, this is a pleasant surprise, Mumette. I'm sure it is. Park your ass. Brace yourself, Mummy. You're looking at the new Front Bottom. Bad to the bone.
That laugh is just amazing because you lose that on the DVD when you watch it of the olden days, but when you hear that live, it got a big laugh.
Yeah, and it's amazing. How much controversy there is. You've sort of skipped over the smoking a marijuana joint on national television. There's also the weird reference to nude battling tops. Again, yes. I think this is another reference that is well before my time. This might have been from the 70s.
Front Bottom blames Alden straight into the next scene because he's lost his battling tops. And this is where the continuously going out of focus joke keeps coming up.
From memory, I think they just looked at episodes of Rush with the sound off, and yeah, I would say when you do that, you notice all the sorts of things you wouldn't if you had the sound on, like people going out of focus.
You've gone out of focus again.
Nothing like a theremin, is there?
No.
I was never a massive fan of the repurposed video, repurposed TV shows. I never I just didn't. It wasn't my favourite part of The Late Show.
Oh, I was going to say, if you weren't a fan of that in general, that means you wouldn't have liked Hercules Returns.
I didn't enjoy Hercules Returns.
Oh.
I enjoed Bargearse though.
Yeah.
But that was about it. That was kind of about it out of The Late Show oeuvre.
Next segment, and we've got one of our favourites, Alf Camilleri, appearing, holding the sign for Undiscovered Masterpieces of the Cinema. This bit where Tony is talking to Alf, or trying to get a word out of Alf, but he's completely quiet. You got to listen carefully to a certain laughter going on in the background.
What exactly do you do, Alfie? Not saying too much. Must be head of Victorian publicity, I think. Well, there you go. Tonight we're talking kung fu movies tonight on this segment. Settle down. We're talking kung fu movies because when I was a kid...
Do you reckon that was somebody else on the crew laughing at that ABC in joke?
Yeah.
Was that Annie Marver again? Just to reference Annie Marver yet again, but didn't she famously have quite a loud, distinctive laugh?
Well, I'll play it again. Hold on.
What exactly do you do, Alfie? Not saying too much. Must be head of Victorian publicity, I think. Well, there you go. Tonight we're talking kung fu movies tonight on this segment. Settle down. We're talking kung fu movies because when I was a kid...
Yeah, that's pretty good. As someone who's made TV shows on a network, you do get very upset when you see other shows get more publicity than you, and you just get a feeling that you might be less important on the network than all the other shows. And the Late Show, they are a show that's on at 10:30 at night on a Saturday night. It is very much the backwaters of the ABC and very much a low priority for any kind of publicist to kind of promote. So I doubt they were getting any kind of attention at all. The only attention they would have got would have been the eyeballs that were watching at the time. So they had to make their own publicity.
And anything.
Yeah, they got very famously. They got no publicity at all in their first series because I sort of still can't believe I actually discovered the program. Because it just got nothing at all, and then suddenly they realised at the end of the first series that loads of people were watching it and talking about it. And so then they give it publicity when it was already famous for the second series.
I know the exact moment I first saw The Late Show. My parents used to have a tiny television. It was about 10 inches, like half the size of an iPad, a little Toshiba television. And my parents were watching TV on the big TV in the living room, and I snuck in to the office and stole the little television, took it into my bedroom, plugged it in, hid under the covers, and was flicking through television channels and came across The Late Show late at night. And I think I saw Graham and the Colonel. That was the first thing I saw. And I was like, what is this magic? And from that point onwards, I did the exact same thing, steal the television and put it underneath my sheets so I could watch The Late Show every Saturday.
That's amazing.
They must have discovered you were watching it because they gave you the cap.
Yeah.
They figured it out eventually, yeah.
I won't go into the detail of the movie, but the movie is The Armour of God with Jackie Chan. And if you want to watch it, it's on SBS On Demand until June 2021.
Great.
Yep.
Is it the original language or is it the English dub with the waiter being compared to John Inman by Tony?
You know what? I have not watched it. And we'll just say that it is. If it is the English version, it'll be even more hilarious.
Apart from, highlighting a couple of the weird sort of things with the English dubbing, most of it is just showing these really, badass fight scenes and car chase scenes. And
there's a staggering shot of a female character being punched in both breasts simultaneously, which I suppose for me watching that's the equivalent of you guys watching someone get hit in the nuts.
All me plums.
Still that kind of you kind of grab your chest. You know how painful that would be.
All right, shit scared. And we have Stunt Headquarters, which is a caravan. And I'm guessing, I'm not a Melbourne person, but is this in the outskirts of the Yarra or whatever? Or tends to be a very popular place. That area was filmed in the 90s.
It looks like that kind of. It almost is. Well, back then, I remember this because we used to drive over from Adelaide to Melbourne quite frequently. And sort of before you got to Melbourne, there would be all these kind of acres and acres of what looked like basically waste ground. And now it's all covered with suburbs and stuff. But yeah, it kind of looks like that.
This one, it's all about Rob filming a stunt for Phoenix, the ABC series. And the whole part was that he was going to be driving and the car was going to explode, the drug dealer's car, and it had dynamite underneath. And so it was just Mick piss-farting about with the dynamite, being really clumsy. So you have all these random bits of, you can't remember where he's buried.
You're boiling!
After all these misplacements and blowing up of Rob, they actually cut to Rob and Mick and Tommy in the studio.
It's a pretty short episode of Shit Scared without the studio bit. It's pretty much Rob just constantly getting blown up, along with a bloody huge flame coming out of the caravan. It's sort of it's too big for home video. So yeah, they had to make up a bit more time with Rob, suggesting that that we should get Dynamite into the hands of youngsters.
The thing about this that really drives home for me is like how they created characters around each segment. Like, Rob and Mick aren't Rob and Mick from The Late Show. They're Rob and Mick from Shit Scared. And Rob and Mick from Shit Scared are two very different characters from Rob and Mick who just operate within the world of The Late Show. And I just think it's so fascinating to kind of see how that exists in that space and how it works and how you don't have to go about creating a whole new character base to kind of fit in within a show like that. I really loved it, and it's clearly when you see it within a whole episode that they just were hoping they could create something that was really fun to film every week just for themselves, and that's kind of fun to kind of see. Oh yeah, well they're just going to needlessly blow shit up just for fun.
Yeah. Next segment is Piss Week Marine World, where you can see a live shark ride in a genuine submarine, learn how to snorkel, swim with a creepy crawly, watch the instructor go into the deep end, and all these others, which a lot of this is visual and looks like it was done in the backyard of Tommy G's pool.
Yeah, and once again, what's great about seeing this in the context of an episode is that, this was like a running series. There are more Piss Week Worlds than I've ever seen. Like, I remember watching The Late Show on television, but also the thing that has the greatest impact are the best bits. And the best bits, tapes, VHSs and DVDs, have only got one Piss Week sketch. And I was like, well, of course, like, there must be heaps more. Like, I'm excited now to go through the episode, the series, to find all the other Piss Weeks.
I quite enjoyed feeding time at the goldfish tank. That's pretty pissy.
I enjoyed the plastic bottom bucket. I thought that was good.
We've all done that.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many different pissy activities they're able to get out of the one scenario. Basically, it's a good dozen or so just out of a household pool.
Well, what about the precision bobbing team where Tommy just jumps right in the corner of it? I'm surprised he didn't hit himself or whack his head or anything on the edge of the pool. He did it as he lived up to the name in nice precision.
I really enjoyed that reference as well. Then this is the second reference to a precision something team this episode. The first reference was back in the olden times when they had the Cobb and Co.
Yes.
The Cobb and Co. precision
driving
team. Yeah, and I was like, wow. And I've been thinking about it since I watched this episode. I think I watched it earlier today, but ever since then I've been thinking, whatever happened to the Holden precision team? Whatever happened to those guys now?
I liked the genuine sea rescue, which was just a net picking out a toy boat from the pool, which I think is seeing as there's that ship stuck in the Suez Canal, they might actually have to get a giant net and
that's great. That's good. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Move to the next one, which is muckraking, and this is all about this is where the teaser has come in. Warwick.
Was that from your personal vinyl collection, Matt?
Correct.
Didn't make the leap to CD.
No. And this is Jason Mick reenacting the Warwick Kappa court case where he was accused of assaulting his estranged wife's lover. And he had Tony as Warwick, Mick as Joanne, Jace as the lover, and Santo as the field umpire.
This would all make it into the best ofs. Like, I was watching this, trying to figure out where I'd seen it before.
There's a clip of it in one of the best of compilations, but not the whole sketch.
Yeah, that must have been it, because I was like, I'm sure I've seen Mick in bed like this and Tony dressed like that, but I can't work it out where I'd seen it before.
From memory, it's in one of the montages near the end that has the credits crawling along the bottom near the end, where they just put these really, it's like a montage of really short clips.
When I did try to reach out to Warwick in regards to this sketch, all I did, every time I did give him a call, all I got was,
"Hi, this is Warwick Kappa.
Remember me?
So, I got to give credit to the great Richard Marsland and the
Yeah, R.I.P. Rich Marsland.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long it would take till we got to the Capitals.
Yeah. We have a segment which this is a bit of a long-winded segment, which is all about unique Australians, and it's half doco, half sketch, really, and very, very dry delivered. And you have Shane Ferguson, who is Rob.
No. Project Coastwatch is his name.
Project Coastwatch, my apologies. And the government spending $11 million on coastal surveillance, which all goes to that one man.
My favourite line out of this is when Project Coastwatch, or Shane Ferguson as is known, is asked whether he got the job because of favouritism, and he replies, "No, a mate of mine in the government got me in."
And this segment, so it's like it's a montage of 3 kind of documentaries, mockumentaries. What's holding it together? Like, what is this segment about? Is it something that happens every week? I can't remember.
Maybe it's taking the mickey out of something that was shown on the ABC, or when they do those Four Corners things or something like that, a bit more in depth.
It's like 3 extraordinary Australians, and it was just like 3 little vignettes, and that was it, and we're out.
I mean, probably one of the reasons why it seems so foreign to the rest of the Late Show output is that these seem to be very professionally produced, shot on actual film rather than home video.
I get the feeling these were like Tony Martin loved sketches. These ones were like Tony's like babies, maybe.
The other vignette was Gavin Teasdale from Ballarat, which is Mick, and it's all about him being in shit with Russia because he told a joke down at the pub. And CIA reports claim that there are 125 Russian ballistic missiles pointed at Australia, with 3 aimed at his home, 2 at the shop where he works, and 1 at his brother's house where he sometimes spends the night.
Yeah.
Now, this one is really cool because this is the first, I guess, unofficial appearance of future Late Show star Judith Lucy.
So she plays Gavin Teasdale's wife, and she only has a couple of lines, and I suppose unless you were very, very familiar with the live Melbourne comedy scene in 1992, you wouldn't really know who she is. But yeah, obviously they saw something in that performance and maybe her live work as well, and they thought, well, she'd be good for series 2.
I also liked the Mick going through the Fallout shelter and the seeing it full of board games, and talking about how he couldn't rent any videos because the local shop only does overnights, and Fallout takes 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Think of the late fees.
Yes.
It kind of reminded me quite a lot of, the young ones where they're preparing their own Fallout shelter and they stock their Fallout shelter with like takeaways, like sort of burgers and stuff like this. Whereas in Gavin Teasdale's Fallout shelter, there's a whole bunch of Big M's.
Yeah.
They're sitting on a shelf. They're not even in a fridge. So, clearly he thinks this attack is so imminent that he doesn't have to worry about refrigerating milk.
And I think it's worth pointing out that any similarities between the Fallout shelter listed here and the Fallout shelter in Y2 Gay are purely coincidental.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing up my much-loved and highly lauded 2011 Tropfest film Y2 Gay. Thank you for that. playing this week in Korea as part of some sort of marriage equality event that they're having. So the Korean consulate in the Australian consulate in Korea reached out to me and said, "Hey Dan, can we play this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, go for it."
Wow. Oh, amazing.
Great. Y2K getting an airing. Woo!
The other vignette is all about the 14-year-old Brendan Heathcote of Plymington Grammar, and with the school being named after its owner or its founder, Sir George Grammar. So
excellent joke, that one.
That was. And you have and Prue's not here.
John Harrison.
Yeah. John Harrison is the headmaster. And this one gets requested a lot on Facebook too, on our Late Show Facebook page, because people go, "Oh, where's the clip about the schoolboy being by himself?" Just for this grab.
He's been accused of being the teacher's pet, but I don't know.
All right, who threw that?
So yeah.
Now is that another popular clip that's kind of done the rounds? But It's not part of a best of, is it?
That scene, that and saying present in the classroom when he's by himself is the only part that's made it to the best of DVD in a clip bit montage, kind of like the Warwick Kappa thing.
Along with there's also a clip of the school photo. Again, just a solitary Jason Osborne in a row of a dozen or so, showing him in the class of 89 and in the class of 1990. And empty chairs in 1991 because apparently he was sick the day they had to take those photos.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
After that, we'll move on to the lounge, and Tony is talking about clapping and it's how it's encouraged by the applause light. Now, you would know about this, Dan, especially when all your TV show recordings.
To be honest, I've never, ever worked on a TV show with an applause light. It never exists. So Ronnie Johns didn't have an applause light. Hungry Beast, we didn't have an audience in Hungry Beast. Can of Worms, we didn't have an applause light. I feel like it's an affectation from a bygone era of TV land where applause lights existed, but they don't exist anymore.
Actually, I went to a recording of Ronnie Johns, and I think it was season 2, where it was the episode where Chopper had the fuck counter. And
awesome!
There was all natural laughs, and that was one hell of a recording.
Okay, so the fuck counter, why we had a fuck counter was the following. So the network allowed us to have something like 15 fucks per episode, and they didn't allow us to have a motherfucker, and they didn't allow us to have cunts. So we saved up all our fucks in one episode to be used in the fuck counter.
Good. That explains a lot.
And so that's why that sketch was written. That sketch was written to use all the fucks in one sketch.
So it's only allowed per episode, correct?
Well, that was what the network said at the time. So there was an arbitrary rule of the network. So the network was like, you guys swear a lot. Here's what, please only use 15 an episode. That was just like an arbitrary rule they made up. So we're like, okay, we'll use 15 in 3 minutes.
Wow, I've got to watch that episode again because I never thought about all the swearing earlier in the episode.
Yeah, well, maybe you should do a stock take and send it to Channel 10.
But yeah, this is all about Tony's joke being about the mystified silence light, which gets used quite a fair bit throughout this episode, especially further on down the night.
Such a great gag there. The only other thing I'll add to this is that Richard Marsland, who we've mentioned before already, had... It wasn't an applause light. It was an applaud light.
Oh, right.
I think it might have been Channel 7 in Adelaide. I think he might have gotten that as a souvenir when he did AM Adelaide.
It's more of a command, isn't it? Applaud.
Yes.
Applause seems like a sort of slightly softer ask. But yeah, I like to think that Tony Martin got to take home the mystified silence light as his Late Show.
After that quick little bit, we have toilet break, and Jane introduces the Natural 7. It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Your final return will not be
Be the cream of the crop. You can be the cream of the crop.
It's not how you start,
It's how you finish. We're gonna finish on top.
I really enjoyed this song. I thought this was quite a good, fun sort of Broadway tune that they were doing, and I sort of Googled what it was, and it's from a Broadway musical from the early 70s called Seesaw, which was by actors of Sweet Charity. So it's sort of the same level of quality as Sweet Charity, but I don't think did quite as well for them on Broadway. But, I always quite enjoy the Natural 7 doing these musical theatre ones because, who doesn't enjoy skin-tight outfits and bell-bottom flares and stuff and, strange, awkward choreography. It's a real treat for the eyeballs.
Totally fascinating, and I totally forgot about this segment from watching, when you watch the best bits, you kind of don't really get to enjoy the toilet break as a whole within context. And so seeing this segment within this episode was like, oh, wow, yeah, they just burned 2.5 minutes on this song and made everybody watch it so that they could have a break from making television.
I wait till season 2 where it just becomes very entertaining with the potluck stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I must say I much prefer the potluck stuff because I remember as a very small kid watching homesick from school and watching some of these potlucks and how ridiculous they were. But
Pithy with the bells. That's what I remember.
I'm quite fond of these kind of slightly tacky renditions of various songs, so I'm happy with it.
One thing which slightly annoys me about this is the Natural 7 absolutely buggering up the timing. Sort of in the last 30 seconds or so of the song, they sort of do a slow build up to the end. The way they do that, it's not where you start. They can't seem to get the timing right. I don't know if I'm making sense saying
it is a bit off. It is a bit off, and the choreography is a bit off as well towards the end.
Yeah, they do a slow down kind of deliberate can, and then it speeds back up again for no reason.
Yeah. Next segment is Commercial Crime Stoppers, and Mick and Santo still dressed in their Red Hot Chili Peppers clothing. Santo's disappointed that he paid $40. $40 for Red Hot Chili Peppers, but when he could have watched Natural 7 for free. $40.
They couldn't even sell their gumboots.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how like tickets to gigs cost like $300? You know,
I just saw a Spider-Man one general admission for $70. That's just like the regular stuff. Far out. They play full commercials in this one, but I won't play them all. I actually have them lined up. But I will play one which kind of is basically Tinder back in 1992.
Single Life magazine is the easiest way to find a nice, genuine guy. It's safe, confidential, and costs almost nothing.
You simply fill in the ad form with a few details about yourself, your likes, dislikes, and sit back and wait for the replies.
Oh, not only that, the magazine is classy, has great articles and entertainment listings for singles.
Advertising in Single Life is so much better than hanging around nightclubs.
Single Life magazine, available from newsagents now.
Single Life is simply brilliant.
Who would have thought you'd get excited over a magazine?
And like, what a shit tagline! Single Life, simply brilliant. There's another pun there that you can use. Like, just make something that's about single life. Like, single life, not for long. You know, that's better than simply brilliant.
I'm surprised that the Single Life magazine, if it didn't have like a centerfold or something in it.
Oh, terrible.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
But hey, it's better than hanging around nightclubs.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the kind of magazine you don't really want a subscription for. You just kind of want to get it once a week until you're no longer single, right?
Although, mind you, that would be a very embarrassing trip down the newsagents.
Oh, you've got the Single Life magazine and the Penthouse? Thanks.
And are you saying you would put Single Life in the Penthouse? Behind it.
That's exactly how I buy the Australian. I put it inside the Sydney Morning Herald.
When you find a partner, you just have to subscribe to Life magazine.
That's it.
Yes.
Give her a badum.
Hold on. I'll insert it in post. It takes a while to get in.
Okay.
I've got about 5-6 pages worth of sound effects I've got to siphon through.
I've got one. Here we go.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
There we go. These are all the classic Irrational Fear sound effects.
That's right. I've got a few of them.
Other commercials are about really bad acting in a Pilkington Glass commercial. And an archived brushes ad presented by the star of The Wiz, Freddie Paris.
It pumps out a sound like you wouldn't believe.
I really enjoyed. That was my favourite ad of the lot because it was like you had a lot going on. You had brushes for starters. You had a guy who I'd never heard of, a musical that must have been big at some point, and then you had technology that was completely out of date. No, I thought that really was just terrific.
I did look up Freddie Paris's CV. And where he started in The Wiz, it was actually he played Lion in the Australian stage production.
Incredible! So he was he was a celebrity from stage in Australia.
Yeah,
amazing.
And apparently he was in the film The Odd Angry Shot and Celebrity Tattletales, hosted by Ugly Dave Gray.
Well, man,
what a CV!
He's had a storied career.
Unfortunately, he passed away in 1991, so that's a bit of a downer.
Just a quick throwback to the Pilkington Clarkson's ad. Anyone who grew up in Adelaide at that time will probably remember that ad. You know, from, oh no, I've broken a window. Oh dear. And then she rings up Pilkington Clarkson's of Norwood. So that was yet another South Australian classic inflicted on the whole nation.
And it's just some understated guy going, how can I help you? Yeah. You know, we did these with Danger 5 guys. We did these great sketches on At Home Alone Together called Essays Back in Business. And it was when South Australia was opening up after a lockdown because everybody else was locked down. So they were like kind of promoting South Australia that they were being back in business. And the thing is, these Danger 5 guys made these parodies of ads that look just like these ads that they play.
Oh, that's cool. All right, now we've got another sketch with Better Golf with Hank Barron, and Rob is basically channeling Russell Coight with this. Before he was Russell Coight, it's just Hank Barron being so up himself, trying to show you some really bad golfing advice, really.
Yeah, I've kind of got the feeling that Rob just fell in love with doing that really chipper American accent and talking about the grip.
Do you also think that it was filmed at the same time when they did the Golf-O-Matic from last episode?
Oh, definitely, because you can see Michael Hirsch is in it, and you can see he's wearing the Golf-O-Matic outfit, that jumper he's got on.
Yeah, he's the angry golfer that Rob as Hank annoys, puts off his shot and basically just wraps a 5-iron around his head. Yeah,
I found this Mick Malloy's Shonky Golf, which is kind of.
No way.
Do you remember this? Wow. This was made after the Mick Malloy show was cancelled, and he did it with the same kind of crew and cast from the Mick Malloy show. So this is like 1999, 2000 roughly. But yeah, so this is an idea that they've kind of recycled. Again, but there's your Shonky Golf.
Still with the sticker, with the 250,000 copies returned.
What I loved about this sketch was that the colour in it was so bad. Like they've shot it so late in the day that they've kind of run out of time to get proper light, and everything is like purple and blue, and the VHS recorder is not dealing with it at all.
They deliberately made it like a sort of American style thing, so they've made it that kind of washed out NTSC kind of picture quality to it.
Right.
It's like when you're playing an American video in your VHS.
Yeah.
The next bit is they're back on the stage again, where Tommy G presents Academy de Musique, turning the most unmusical of minors into virtual virtuosos with his revolutionary Learn Through Violence program. We have Jace, Jane, Tony, and Mick on stage, and they do Jace first, trying to play Mary Had a Little... Oh, no, was it Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star?
Twinkle, Little Star.
Yeah.
But no amount of practice can substitute for a good clip around the ear. I know we didn't do it in rehearsal, but I saved it. Now, there was another line there, wasn't it? Dug my own grave, haven't I?
That clip, I think, was another one that was in the compilation videos, but the sketch obviously goes on quite a lot longer than that, and you see various members of the cast learning to play instruments. But, if Jane gets a note wrong on a recorder, she gets gassed. If Tony gets a note wrong on his guitar, he's electrified. And Mick has a rather terrifying violin that if he plays a wrong note, a kind of knife goes right out of the violin and into his neck, which looks pretty painful. So that's basically the sketch.
Yeah, it's one of those sketches of like, oh wow, there's nothing salient about this sketch. It's just being mean for no reason.
Yeah. And again, it's another great day at work for Aaron Beaucaire as well, doing having to try and work out how to get a recorder to emit gas.
Yeah. Yeah, because Jane's just standing there going, where's the gas? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And then you see her stand well back when a spark comes out of Tony's electric guitar.
And there's a quick little sketch which is basically taking the piss out of the Gillette commercials or little bumpers that would be on TV. I do vaguely remember these. And it is the MCG in 1991. Play on the second day of the Victoria-Tasmania Shield match is held up by the replacement ball being examined. Another boring Gillette sporting moment. That's it. So that looks like it was a Tommy G one written.
Just a lovely little reference to the Sheffield Shield, which if you think cricket's already a boring sport, then state cricket is even more boring.
Graham and the Colonel now, and making the use of the mystified silence light in this bit. So they're talking about spring racing, and the Colonel hopes there's no clashes like the previous race, the Demolition Derby one. Duffel Coat Supreme. Hooray!
Yeah,
Duffel
another name. Yeah.
Yep, our favourite duffel coat was underestimated at the Cox Plate. Not once in 11 years did he throw his ride, though, and Graham corrects him saying, well, he is a Rodeo horse. And the Melbourne Cup. Now, this one, this was just a disaster, but very, very funny. Lady Colonel hasn't missed one since the war. And basically it's Colonel saying that she was waitressing tables 15 to 22. So
yeah, that was a good reveal. Yeah.
Yeah. And Graham and the Colonel used to drive the ambulance around the now this one was
it's pretty dark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dark. I don't know whether to say it or not, but like it's more or less Santo went there and Rob didn't want to go there.
That's the joy of Graham and the Colonel, basically. They do just go there.
Yeah. They were accused of animal cruelty because they used to put the horses in a sleeper hold. But the other one is the more humane way, that is, that what they just did, because their old way was setting fire to the tail using kerosene.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love this little bit.
When did you decide to throw that one in? That was a master decision, that one. Oh, how lucky I am to be here right now.
I think, it's really important when you're on screen and you can sense that the audience isn't enjoying something. Acknowledging that the audience isn't enjoying something is a really important part of bringing your audience closer to you. And I feel like that is great instincts from Rob to do that.
It gets them back on side.
One that goes a bit off topic for the sport. They're saying that it's 31st of October, midnight is tax return deadline. And so the Colonel starts filling out the forms and saying, who do you want to win for the Gold Logie? Which
what a joy it is to watch them. It was a nice, I remember watching as a kid, knowing that Graham and Colonel were going to pretty much end the show, and it was nice to kind of salivate almost, kind of watching it, going, oh wow, this is great. This is a great button for an entire hour. What a beautiful way to kind of end each episode. I really had a good time watching it.
Towards the end, there's a bit about the local fish and chip shop going up market, and Santo essentially scrambling for the notes, and then Rob going, it's all on the auto cue.
Just use this bit of technology we got right here. Yeah, my note, I'm looking at my note, it says Graham and the Colonel, loose. That's what I wrote. I wrote loose.
Very, very loose, yeah.
That's what I should do every single time we do these recaps, and then just say, instead of going to so much detail, just going, yeah, Graham and the Colonel, it was loose.
Very loose, yeah.
We have the closing, which is everyone back on the couch, and Jane finds a petition in the female toilets at the ABC claiming that they were complaining about the hygiene in the washrooms. And this was just like it was a big ribbing towards Mick, and Mick being there.
Can I say, as soon as Jane started talking, I'm like, where is the punchline about Mick signing the petition? This is the most obvious punchline. We're just waiting for it, and then it came. But I think it just came a little too late. But it was coming. It was coming.
He's a bit of a chick magnet.
I've also got to say, it's a very ABC thing, don't you think, for there to be a petition regarding the disgraceful state of the female toilets?
Perhaps, yeah.
And they only have time for one worst album cover, which they haven't done for a little bit, and that is Tony presenting an entry from Harold and Rodney Block, submitted the Battle of Jerusalem, the 6-Day War.
I'm slightly curious about what this album actually is. I mean, is it a kind of dramatic reconstruction of the Battle for Jerusalem?
Maybe.
What is it? Is it the best of radio news reports about the war? Because it was a real event, so what was it?
The way Tony describes it makes it sound like it was stuff that was recorded live at the battleground. But yeah, it could. Well, I'm hoping it's not a souvenir rather than just a historical record. Yeah, but geez, it's a very odd thing to have in your LP collection.
Not on Spotify. I just did a quick search. So sorry.
No. I've got it up on Discogs, and it says it was recorded in Israel, but it's released in the United States. It's for field recording and it's education. Its track listing is 1 on the A side, Battle for Jerusalem 6-Day War Part 1, and then Battle for Jerusalem 6-Day War Part 2. And it has a narrator. Russ Hall was the narrator. So maybe it was like a documentary, but for audio, yeah.
I'm going to have to
find this. So this is the Audible of its day. You would have to buy these documentaries on vinyl.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
All right, and then they do the audience tickets after the closing credits. And but Daniel, do you have any Easter eggs that were in the credits?
Well, yeah, we had quite a lot of special guests this episode. most of them, I think, from the Piss Week World Sketch. So we had Justin Anderson, Luke Anderson, Nicholas Anderson, Duran O'Brien, Sarah Thompson. We also had Julian Clary, who was up the front, Judith Lucy, who was in the Unique Australians sketch. Nono Santo, I'm not quite sure where he was. But that's Santo's grandfather. And Dennis Walterez himself. And by special permission, John Harrison. And Joanne Kappa appears courtesy of Michael Hirsch.
I saw that. Yeah. Now, what was that about? Was that like was that a joke? Is that a joke about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much every episode in the first series, there's a credit for Michael Hirsch.
Right.
Of varying degrees of hilarity.
You'll see it in your VHS copies, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah. One of the things that I thought was extraordinary that I had no idea about was Ted Robinson being the executive producer of this. So I had absolutely no idea that Ted Robinson was running The Late Show with Hirsch. And Ted is, of course, an extraordinary TV producer, made all sorts of things, including Good News Week, The Sideshow, The Glass House, pretty much any kind of major TV comedy platform in the last 15 years he's been a part of. So, super interesting. I was like, wow, Ted Robinson, he has been around since then. That's incredible.
Tommy G is plugging the audience tickets, doing his best Frank Spencer impression after he calls out for theatre sports. So there was two others.
And he just Hervé Villechaize as well. Don't forget Hervé Villechaize.
Yes. Well, that ends the episode, season 1, episode 15. Now, this is the special part of the podcast. So if you're not bored already, and now we do have a competition for people who decide to hold on, and this is where we get people to send in their entries to record their own favourite quote from The Late Show. So this is the 5 entries that we've got.
What's all that about?
I made love to her like a tiger.
Good day from Dominic. How are you?
Do you believe in mental telepathy? No, I hear you think.
I may be ugly, but at least I'll never be as ugly as an Angela Weber.
This has been going for 15 episodes now, and we've got this Piss Week prize pack as we keep adding more and more to it. So let me present to you the prize pack. So look at your cameras, and then we've got Ripper from episode 1.
Oh, wow.
Ripper vinyl. We also got the Degeneration. Oh, sorry. There we go. Degeneration Farmer Book of Aussie Heroes, which is.
Oh, that's fantastic. How do I get a copy of that?
Yeah. Nice. Thanks, Dan.
It's not Piss Week.
Yeah. That's donated by Alison. We also have Fake Tan, the second book, not the first book. So donated by
everyone's
Alison.
got that in there. Everyone's got that in their toilet.
Yeah. And unopened DVD of Any Questions for Ben.
That's a collector's item now.
Yeah, collector's item. So discontinued. And now, no one knows about this, but I have a cassette tape of Lucky Grills.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Hot off the grill.
R-rated.
Yes, and I've only half rewound it. So there we go.
Who knew?
Pencil that you used.
I didn't realise Lucky Grills was a comedian. I thought he was an actor.
You're gonna hold on. Let me just stop this music. There we go. You have to go into a deep dive of Lucky Grills stuff. So he was a singer. He was an entertainer, comedian before he actually decided to pop up on Bluey. So
wow,
I believe Bluey was one of his first serious dramatic acting roles.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's hope. There's hope.
Yes. So send your entries to champagnelateshow@gmail.com. Just record them on your phone and send them through, or send us a tweet at TLS Champagne. You have 5 more episodes left. We'll reveal the winner in episode 20. So especially if you want this Lucky Grills tape. So
fantastic. That's
I will tweet the picture out. Trust me, this was hard to find.
Matt, will you be dubbing off copies of this for those of us who appear on this program every week?
I can make off-site copies, for insurance reasons.
Okay.
You know what the funny thing is? Look at what it says down the bottom. Rated rated comedy, volume 3.
Oh God!
So
volume 3.
Yeah.
Now you got to find the 2 other volumes.
Yes. So I've got to track these down, and on the inside it says, "Oh, here we go." Due to the success and popularity of Lucky's 2 previous volumes, The True Blue Aussie and Bluey Gets Blue, here is Volume 3, hot off the grill.
Oh.
And then other volumes are also available from Comedy Enterprises, P.O. Box 106 Ramsgate 2217. And there's a phone. Oh, here we go.
That's just down the road from me. Maybe the PO box is still active.
Please note, this recording is strictly for adults only.
Oh, nice, Robbie McGregor.
The following program may contain nudity and traces of nuts.
So, yes, you've got that now. So we're now up to 5 prizes for the Piss Week prize pack. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up the show and this episode of the Champagne Comedy Podcast. I just want to say thank you so much, Dan, for popping on, and we've wasted your time. I'm so sorry.
You're welcome. I've got 2 hours and 13 minutes and 40 seconds. That's what I've recorded. This is the longest podcast I've ever been a part of, and I enjoy it. And if you want to listen to a considerably shorter podcast, I have one every week. It clocks under 30 minutes. It's called Irrational Fear. It's a fast, funny podcast about the news. It's like Q&A on crack. We drill down on climate change and savage the news, and we have special guests every week. This week coming up, we've got Kamal. He's going to be talking about the hazing he got on Hey Hey It's Saturday, so do tune in for that one. He just texted me during the show, actually, wanting to clarify the time. So there you go.
And you've also got a Melbourne International Comedy Festival show coming up as well.
Yeah, please do come along to that. We've sold about 70 tickets, but I realised I've accidentally booked the second biggest room in the town hall. Not out of arrogance, I just was in a hurry. So normally I would only book like 100-seater, but I've accidentally booked like a 300-seat room. I booked a supper room, but we have sold 70 tickets and there's still 2 weeks to go. So hopefully we'll sell at least 150. Who knows? Maybe the 200 people that listen to this each week will also come along. So do come along to Irrational Fear at the town hall, April 11th. It is a huge lineup. We've got Lewis Hopper from Triple J, Sammy Shah, Alice Fraser, James Collier, who's the head writer of The Weekly, and Gruen Transfer. And we've also got Simon Holmes of Court. He's joining us because we want to talk to him about energy and climate change. And also there's one person you should absolutely be on your radar. Her name is Gabby Bolt. She's a young musical comedy TikTok star who's just about to blow up. And she just moved to Sydney like a few months ago, and I got her on the 100th episode of Irrational Fear. And she is going to be the next Tim Minchin. She's absolutely sensational. She's doing her only show in Melbourne at our show. So come along and see, if anything, come along and see Gabby Bolt. She's like 24. She's brilliant. She's savage. She's going to like own Australian comedy in a few years' time.
Yeah, I agree because Gabby Bolt was a really good find, I think. And yeah, I would say if you're looking for an episode to jump into, go for that 100th episode of Irrational Fear.
Yeah, she was also on this week's episode last week's episode as well. She did a great parody of Benny and the Jets called Jenny and the Girls, and it was just a savage song about how Scott Morrison uses the women in his life as cover for his own leadership failures, and it's just absolutely brilliant parody, and I can't get it out of my head.
As Gavin would say.
You're bar up.
So,
cheers.
Thank you. That's exclusive to this podcast, that bit. So thank you so much, Dan, and thank you, Daniel, Kim, and Alison. Catch you next time. ChampagneComedy.com.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
You've gone out of focus again.
Thank you for listening to the Champagne Comedy Podcast, created by fans for the fans. For more information on this podcast, please visit champagnecomedy.com. Produced by Matt Fulton Productions, mattfulton.com.au.